husband, the king!
Who killed the king? His 3 wives must face the 3 sacred rituals, an ancient test that will expose every hidden sin. No charm can mask guilt, no lie can survive the ancestors.
In the ancient kingdom of Umualu, where the talking drums echoed across red earth paths and palm trees swayed like wise old guardians, there lived a king whose name carried weight heavier than iron, King Obiezi, the Lionheart. His rule brought peace, harvests, and laughter to the land. His people adored him, his palace shone with prosperity, and his lineage was blessed with 3 wives and 10 strong children. But on one fateful morning, as the rooster crowed and the village women began pounding yam, the palace felt strange. The wind was restless, the guards whispered, even the sun hesitated behind a pale cloud. The king had just finished his breakfast, steaming yam porridge prepared by the first wife, Queen Nkemdilim. She was the calm river of the palace, patient, gentle, steady. Her food had always been his favorite. But this morning, something was wrong. Moments after eating, King Obieze clutched his chest. His breath staggered, his eyes widened in fear, as though he had seen his fate standing before him. A cry tore through the palace. "Mokem, my husband!" Queen Nkemdilim screamed as the king collapsed like a mighty Iroko struck by lightning. The palace erupted into chaos. Drums stopped mid-beat. Servants scattered. Children wailed. The second wife, Queen Ozioma, ran in, her voice trembling like a flute. And then came the third wife, Queen Adana, whose shrill cries could split stone. She threw herself on the floor, rolling, beating her chest, shouting, "Whoever killed my husband will never know peace. Let the gods strike the murderer dead." Her wails were the loudest. Her tears flowed like rivers. Her curses flew like arrows, sharp, reckless, heavy. But none of that could bring the king back.
By sunset, the news had traveled beyond the kingdom. Elders gathered in their white oji clothes. The 10 children, sons with trembling faces and daughters with soaked wrappers, stood around their father's lifeless body. No one understood what had happened. No illness, no warning, just death. The people of Umualu became restless. Something was wrong, something hidden, something dark. The council of elders sent for the chief priest, Mirioka, a man feared more than drought and respected more than rain. His staff was carved from ancient Iroko wood, rumored to have once belonged to the god Amadioha himself. When he entered the palace, the air tightened. Even the flames of the torches bowed as if in reverence. He examined the king's body. He chanted. He burned 7 leaves from the forbidden grove. He poured red earth on the floor and watched how the dust swirled. Then he spoke. His voice was heavy, final, unquestionable. The king did not die a natural death. The hand that fed him carried death. Gasps filled the hall. Queen Nkemdilim sank to her knee, shaking. Queen Ozioma covered her mouth. But Queen Adana, the third wife, rose to her feet, eyes blazing. "I said it. It was Nkemdilim's food he ate. The first wife killed him. She has always been jealous." The palace erupted again. Guards held the first wife back as she cried, "Chineke, I am innocent. I loved my husband." The chief priest raised his staff and silence swallowed the room. Enough. The gods have spoken. He looked at the 3 wives one by one. To reveal the true killer, the wives must undergo 3 sacred rituals. A cold breeze swept through the palace. The children shivered. The wives froze. Even the guards exchanged uneasy glances. The rituals, the chief priest continued, will strip lies from tongues and shadows from hearts. Only truth will remain. He lifted his staff higher. The first is the bath of purity in the white river. The second is the cup of spirits drunk from the brown calabash. And the third, he paused, letting dread sink into the bones of everyone listening, is to spend 3 nights inside the king's burial chamber with the earth freshly sealed around him. The wives gasped. The children trembled. Even the walls seemed to breathe uneasily. The guilty one will not survive the rituals, the priest finished. Queen Adana, the third wife, stepped forward boldly. Let the rituals begin. I am innocent. If anyone fails, it is Nkeldilim. Her voice shook the room. But what no one knew, what no one suspected, what even the gods watched silently, was that behind those loud tears, behind those dramatic wails, behind those curses, a secret darker than midnight sat coiled in her heart, and the rituals would soon unravel everything.
The following morning, before the cock crowed twice, the entire kingdom gathered by the White River, a sacred stream said to flow from the tears of an ancient goddess. It was believed that no lie could survive in its waters. If a heart was pure, the river embraced it. If a heart was stained, the river revealed it. The rising sun cast a pale glow across the water as the wives arrived, each wearing a simple white wrapper. The air was thick with fear, curiosity, and the murmurs of villagers who had not slept since the king's death. Queen Mkandilim, the first wife, walked with slow, steady steps. Her face was swollen from crying, yet her eyes held the calmness of a woman who had nothing to hide. Queen Ozioma, the second wife, trembled slightly, not from guilt, but from the weight of the unknown. But Queen Adana, the third wife, approached with loud sobs, clinging to her children dramatically, as though she alone felt the depths of the loss. "Aye, gods, let the gods judge us. I am innocent. Those who killed my husband will pay." Some of the villagers nodded. Others exchanged skeptical glances. Something about her cries felt too rehearsed, too forced, like a masquerade trying too hard to impress. The chief priest Imirioka raised his staff decorated with cowries and fresh palm leaves. "Step forward, first wife." Queen Mkendilem entered the water. The water rippled, glowing faintly as though recognizing her. She dipped herself 3 times, whispering prayers to the goddess of truth. When she emerged, the chief priest inspected her wrapper. It remained white, untouched, unstained. "She is clean," he declared. A sigh of relief spread through the crowd. "Second wife," he called. Queen Ozioma swallowed hard and stepped into the river. The water rose around her legs, then her waist, then her shoulders. She submerged herself and resurfaced, gasping as the cold river wrapped around her. The chief priest lifted her wrapper for inspection. Pure, bright, stainless. "She is clean," murmurs rippled through the villagers. Then came the third wife. Queen Adana walked slowly, dramatically, sniffing and wiping her eyes every 2 seconds. She hesitated at the edge of the river, as though it were expecting it to swallow her whole. Her hands trembled. Her breath shook. For a moment, she almost turned back. But then she remembered the native doctor's charm, buried deep within the beads at her waist, given to protect her from spiritual judgment. She stepped into the river. The water surged around her legs, warmer, faster, almost angry.
Some villagers gasped. The water had never behaved that way before. But she continued, repeating the incantation the native doctor taught her under her breath. She dipped herself 3 times and resurfaced. And then, silence. The chief priest approached slowly. His eyes narrowed. He touched the river water around her. He studied her wrapper. It remained white. She is clean, he finally announced, though his voice carried uncertainty. A wave of whispers swept the crowd. Queen Adana immediately burst into exaggerated tears, lifting her hands to the sky. You see it! You see it! I am innocent! It was not me! It must be one of them! Queen Nkemdelim winced. Queen Ozioma looked away. The children huddled together, trembling. The chief priest raised his staff sharply. Silence! The river has spoken. But the river only sees purity of body, not purity of soul. His eyes lingered on Adana for a long, suspicious moment. The second ritual will reveal more. They returned to the palace courtyard for the next test, the cup of spirits. A brown calabash sat on a carved stool filled with a strange liquid that shimmered like moonlight on oil. The drink was known to expose deceit. No guilty soul could drink it without their heart betraying them. First wife, Mirielokap commanded. Queen Nkemdelim took the calabash, whispered a prayer, and drank. The liquid flowed smoothly. She stood tall, unharmed. She is clean. Second wife. Queen Ozioma lifted the calabash with shaking hands. She sipped, coughed once, then steadied herself. Her heartbeat returned to normal. She is clean. Third wife. Queen Adana froze. Her fingers shook as she reached for the calabash. Her eyes darted around as if searching for escape. The native doctor had promised her the charm would protect her, but could it protect her from this? She drank. For a moment, nothing happened. Then she gagged. Her knees buckled. She clutched her stomach and fell forward. Gasps exploded around the courtyard. Is she guilty? Villagers shouted. Is the charm failing? Someone whispered. But then, just as the guards rushed to hold her, she suddenly recovered, stood up, and began weeping dramatically again. It is grief. I cannot bear the pain. My heart is breaking. That is why I fell. Some villagers nodded sympathetically. Others frowned. The chief priest's eyes sharpened like a hawk's. The drink is satisfied, he said slowly. She has passed. But his voice was layered with doubt. The sun was setting. Drums echoed in the distance. The air felt heavy with unfinished truth. Only one ritual remained, the one no charm could fully protect her from, the one that had driven many guilty souls into madness, the 3-night vigil in the king's burial chamber. And it was in that darkness, in that silence, in that room that still smelled of death, that the truth would finally burst forth.
Please do not forget to like, subscribe, and leave your thoughts in the comment section.